Hi friends, and welcome back to the Heroes of the Dorm Super 16. We are halfway through the day, and I am Jaycie, Gillyweed, Gluck, joined at the desk by Tim, Trikslyr Frazier. Tim, we're halfway through the day. Have the matches been going as you expected so far?
You know, there's a lot more 2-0s than I was expecting, but our teams are starting to warm up here. It's really what's coming down to is teams that have teamwork down and understand how to work together, and the synergies that Heroes bring are really starting to dominate. This is where it really matters. The Super 16 is where all the major players are starting to come out, and we're really seeing the results as that happens.
Yeah, we've so far been seeing these teams that we've gotten to see before come into play and see just how they fare versus the higher seeded teams. And it's really been a case of a lot of those higher seeded teams being able to dominate. But we do have a leaderboard that we could check out and see your predictions for who you think out of our Super 16 teams were able to make it out of the bracket and win.
Yeah, it looks like UC Irvine in red down there. They have actually been knocked out of the tournament. We saw that earlier, but here are the teams that you believe will be moving forward, and a majority of them are still in the tournament. Arizona State, Cal Berkeley, UConn topping the charts here, and UConn will be the team that we're watching out next for. But here, more red showing up as people are slowly being knocked out. You know, it's really getting down to a scenario where the nature of the beast is coming out. Teams will be knocked out, and we will see it occur.
Right. Now, our next matchup is going to be UConn versus Ohio State third string.
Yeah.
We talked about this earlier on. Ohio State is the lowest seed left, but between this matchup, it's one that we feel that it could be a case of another upset.
Yeah, talking to Ohio State, they really feel like they're bringing their A game. This is a team that mentions we cannot be banned out. We've got a lot of work going for us. We've been working really hard on all of our heroes, and we make sure that we can play a majority of team compositions. But UConn is also a team that is slow and methodical, but when it comes to team fights, they become flashy and really know how to jump on the gun and, of course, win a team fight. So they are currently 10-0. Ohio State's got 4 losses on them, but they are chugging through, barely making it through. They may have a few broken legs here and there, but they're making it through. Here's UConn as the lineup. Monkey Lamps, Danley for 3, Battlesis, Toronto, and Suru. Monkey Lamps and Danley for 3 are probably the 2 playmakers on this team.
Right. One thing that I saw from them was on Battlefield of Eternity, they were playing ETC and Lieutenant Morales, and they were up against a full stun composition. But basically, Danley for 3 would wait out some of the stuns and then make sure to get mosh pits on at least a couple of the stun-giving heroes. And then they would save cleanse. They never engaged unless they had a cleanse, and as we can see, cleanse out whenever a lunar flare would come out, stopping their opponents from being able to stop that mosh pit, which was so crucial to their fights.
All right, well, here's Ohio State University, Mig, Chaos Bear, Giggles, The Drunk Take, and Fenrir. This is a team that has a lot of versatility because they're so different. Each player really complements this entire roster well. They're all different pieces of the puzzle, but they come together to really make it all work out. And you're going to see them doing their best, man, to always really work out and, of course, make sure that their team compositions are working out. Talking to these guys, they're approaching this from a very smart intelligence entirely.
They are.
They understand that this is a matchup that will be very hard for them, but one that they are scouting out. They hope to really find a way to break UConn in their methodical play. They want to bring chaos to today's games and really try and make UConn play from behind.
Yeah, both of these teams I've seen in the past play more of a slow game, but it is Ohio State who has Mig, who brings a lot more aggression to them. Sometimes they say don't be a Mig, as he can get out of position with that, but when they can control that and harness it, they can bring aggression to their composition, and that's what they're going to be looking forward to try to do versus UConn.
Yeah, that's the bane of being a playmaker. Sometimes you get in the middle of the action, you really make a lot of plays, but sometimes the plays just fall flat, and your team needs to pick you up.
The plays come to you.
Yeah, exactly. So we'll see Mig, and we'll see how exactly he can pull off. We'll see if he can pull a Mig in a positive light for the team here. One of the guys I also will be looking at for is Drunk Tank here, and then also Chaos Bear. Both of these players are very well grounded, and they understand, hey, Mig, you got to calm down a little bit. We need to make sure that we get the engage that we want to win this entire tournament. They play off of each other so well. Here's the Drunk Tank here, playing a lot of Murden, playing a lot of Johanna. And what I like about this team is although they've had a few losses, so they have a few more heroes in terms of what they've been picking throughout the entire tournament, they're very flexible. You see a lot of different roles being played. You don't see 9 games on Murden, for instance. They will pick heroes that they feel fit the comp and allow them to apply the pressure they need to secure a victory.
They've even talked about how they don't want to be picking the same heroes over and over again because that provides an opportunity for their opponents to find maybe the weakest player and ban very important things against them. So that's really great at just always looking at drafting. When we talk to them, we're so focused on the draft, and that is something that a lot of the newer teams don't necessarily realize is a lot of times games can be won just from the draft alone.
Yeah, when talking to them, said about 80% of the game for them is looking at the draft and how they can approach it. And in fact, let's actually go into the draft and see how Ohio State will be taking on UConn here on the match. We'll be on the Tomb of the Spider Queen. Remember, every first match of the day will be on that battleground. Loser will pick the next battleground. Zul banned out immediately here for UConn. We've been seeing this pretty often. Zul is strong on this map. Not a bad ban at all.
Zul has been a frequent ban, and when he does get into the games, the Poison Novas that he's put out have been very huge, so it makes a lot of sense to take him out here. Sonya will be the ban against UConn. At least Ohio State maybe trying to take away one hero that can really give some aggression, a big team fight potential to UConn. They talked about how they want to do that.
Well, watching in Ohio State, I'm kind of curious what heroes they'll be picking up, because not only are their compositions flexible, their talents are flexible as well. We've seen oftentimes they'll pick up Executioner, they'll pick up Afterburner on Falstad, and when you ask them about it, say, hey, why are you picking this talent? They'll give you a reason that actually makes sense.
Yeah.
It's more of a situation where they're thinking out their picks and trying to adjust and change, because they understand that not everyone here is playing at the highest skill level, they're playing at collegiate level, which means that you can actually take advantage of other opposing teams that aren't ready for those flexible picks.
Yeah, I love the Afterburners explanation.
Yeah.
They were like, well, if you don't need the stun, a live Falstad is always going to do, always going to do more damage than a dead one. I was like, that's true.
You know, you're kind of right. That's kind of true.
Yeah.
Well, Muradin and Zagar will be picked up here for Ohio State. Vision and Initiation. It looks like Ohio State wants to bring the aggressiveness to UConn. However, Thrall and Li Ming are both heroes that are very good at kiting backwards. Li Ming to drop the damage if she's retreating and teleporting away. Thrall, of course, can drop a Sundering if things go a little bit too haywire. And Johanna over here really kind of playing that methodical, slow gameplay.
Yeah.
Johanna is one of those heroes that really helps dictate that.
Right, just having her makes you pretty safe, having her up in front. They're really building out what they like to do, which is just slowly get maybe a little bit of a lead here, get an earlier Web Weaver phase here, and then just as they do that, slowly start to get ahead in experience to the point that it's irrecoverable for their other team.
Very, very true. And also, Johanna being picked usually makes a team decide maybe not to go for ETC. The Iron Skin really prevents the power slide and the mosh pits from going off. Johanna can interrupt it pretty easily. So UConn is able to draft out a hero here that combos well with Devouring Maul, and that's Greymane. Greymane brings in that aggression. He also brings in the Worgen form, which can allow for a lot of damage. So Ohio State has to kind of flex around here. They're going to pick up Rhaegar instead. Interesting pick here. Another thing about Giggles is Giggles can play any support. He's going to fill anything in for his team, and Ancestral can be great for those really aggressive Muradin plays that we're probably going to be seeing. And Falstad will be the fourth pick here for Ohio State.
So looking at some of the common heroes that Ohio State picks up, they play a lot of Rhaegar, a lot of Muradin, and a lot of Falstad. So they are still getting some comfort picks despite the fact that they're going up against a team who has obviously been looking into their play. UConn pulling out the Malfurion, a support we don't see super often here in Duel.
Yeah, Malfurion does kind of speak to that passive style as he's able to kind of sit back in the back line and apply the heals. Usually with a support, you're going to have a hero kind of sit in the middle between the front line and the back line. That way you can kind of access to everyone. Malfurion will see you hang back a little bit more often and drop those unstoppable ropes to prevent Ohio State from getting a crazy engagement. So, you know, Malfurion is a little bit newer for us to see. We haven't been seeing him too often in this tournament, but it makes sense for UConn's style.
It's also really nice to have Malfurion on Tomb of the Spider Queen. He could have a couple of different options at level 1 for his talent.
True.
He could go for Scouting Drone if they want to have the vision around the turn-in points, or if he picks up Moonburn, his Moonfire is going to do extra damage to minions and mercenaries. So
that wave clear
makes him a pretty good wave clear hero despite the fact that he is a support.
And UConn will be showing up with Zeratul as our fifth pick here. We haven't seen too much of Zeratul in the tournament. We'll be seeing him more often as we move into the Epic 8 and the Heroic 4, as we know other teams that are in the number 1 seeds like to play this hero as well. But he is a high-skilled hero that you need a high mechanical player on. Void Prisons can be amazing here, very, very helpful. And Void Prison, again, is another one of those heroics that can really stop teams from being too hard in the engagement. If we see a Muradin and say Falstad going for an aggressive play on perhaps Thrall, you can see Zeratul blink in, put down a Void Prison to keep Jaina and Rhaegar in the backlines, and suddenly you have a 5v3 there.
right? Looking at the compositions that we have, it really seems like UConn wants to go for more of a wait and bait out the engage from Ohio State, put the Void Prison down, set up, reposition, have the entangling roots underneath, have Johanna nearby to pull them in, and then start to get those resets from Sundering and from, of course, from Li Ming being able to start proccing that critical mass.
So UConn really bringing in the control, Ohio State finishing up with Jaycie here, so they have the damage, they have the way to engage. It's all a matter of how these two styles are going to clash together and really work out. You know, looking into it, I kind of feel like UConn may have gotten the better draft here.
Yeah, especially when you know the styles of the teams. It just is something that feels very slow, very methodical, but like they have so much control over the fight. They are ready for anything, ready for Ohio State to be the aggressors and have the tools that they need to be able to stop that aggression from catching them maybe out of position.
All right, well, enough from us. Let's go ahead and head to the game. Remember, Tomb of the Spider Queen will be the battleground. It's going to be UConn versus Ohio State. All right, on the far left for the blue team, Monkey Lamps will be on Malfurion, Dan Lee for 3. Yes, it would be him on Zeratul, just a strong mechanical player. Battle will be on Johanna, Toronto will be on Li Ming, and then Thrall will round out the roster here with Suryu.
A little bit of dancing going on, but their opponents, the lowest seed left in the Super 16, Ohio State, with Mig playing Jaina, Chaos Bear playing Falstad, the Drunk Tank, of course, on Muradin, Fenrir playing Zagara, and finally Giggles playing Rhaegar.
All right, we're going to see how the beginning of the Battlegrounds will begin here. I'm keeping an eye on the Drunk Tank. I want to see how aggressive he wants to be. And in the early game, Muradin does kind of have that power to find targets that may push a little bit too far there. On the other side, we'll be watching Zeratul, how he's roaming, how he's trying to apply pressure, how he's trying to really make Ohio State kind of back up a little bit from their lanes.
Oh, I'm liking already how Zeratul is building into his cleave. That could signify a pretty fun talent later on, but I'll wait and see if that actually happens before I let you know. So far, just a little bit of back and forth trading here in the mid. They want to get rid of the minions of their opponent's side and then rotate into the lanes, just making sure that they can help support their heroes as they go back up to either the top or the bottom so they don't get caught out.
That is very true. See the aggression once again rotating here in the top lane. You're going to see Mig and most likely Chaos Bear do a majority of the out-rotating here too. They're going to try and really clear all these pressure coming from UConn as Jaina has that Blizzard really helping out with the waves as she tries to get to level 4. Dan Lee for 3, bringing in aggression here on Giggles, will be met with a couple of damage as well here. And you can see that Ohio State isn't too fearful. They're willing to bite back already.
Yep, that's what they have to do. They have been watching UConn since the entire bracket, actually, Run of 64 came out. They know what they need to do. They've kept their eye on UConn while simultaneously preparing for their other opponents so that they know exactly what they need to do. But we have talked to other teams who knew what they needed to do versus these higher skilled teams, and yet they just aren't quite able to execute it. So can Ohio State do it here?
Yeah, it's one thing knowing how to beat someone down, but you're right, execution is another thing. We'll see how Ohio State will do for it. Now, I will say that Ohio State, when we talked about them, a lot of teams will say, hey, how far are you going? What is Hero of the Dorm for you? What is success? And a lot of teams are like, oh, you know, we made it this far. It's really good for us. Ohio State just straight up said it in joking manner. I don't want to make it sound too arrogant. They were like, we're going for the win.
Yeah.
We've got our eyes set on top 2.
You should be.
We want to win the tournament, and I agree that should happen, especially with the seed here that's like lower 3. What do you got to lose here? But back to UConn, the #1 seed. They are here for a reason. They do bring the plays whenever necessary, and you do know that they have the synergy when it comes to actually winning the matchups.
Zagara versus Thrall in the bottom lane. It's a matchup 1v1 that we see so often in these games. Slowly starting to trickle Zul in sometimes there, but for the most part it's been just this 1v1 fight, trying to get the better hand of each other. But Fenrir's starting to get that creep built out, and we've seen how important that can be on Tomb.
Yeah, a lot of the matchups today we've been seeing Thrall versus Zagara, and usually we'll see actually Thrall win the matchup because I feel like a lot of teams aren't playing the Zagara correctly. Fenrir here is actually playing this matchup spectacularly. You drop a Hydra, you hold down the lane, you try to soak out the experience, and you get the creep tumor down. That's the main thing you have to do. You don't want to trade with Thrall, because if you get an early trade, Thrall, if he's able to actually get an actual hit on Zagara, will start winning that pretty handedly.
By the way, there is the pick I was thinking of for Zeratul. We have Gathering Power, so he needs to be looking at getting hero takedowns without dying himself in order to start getting ability power. For every hero takedown he gets more ability power, but once he's taken out, he loses all of those stacks. So if they're able to keep up, just do this big momentum shift where they continue to get more and more takedowns without losing him, in the later game, they are going to be so powerful.
Mage, Zeratul can be quite a strong thing, especially if you get that follow through and double bomb. So we'll see if that will be occurring here. Fenrir finally getting some pressure down there on the bottom lane as Danley for 3 did walk down there to help out with his buddy Thrall. In the middle lane, we have Drunk Tank and Gillyweed floating around. Rhaegar will be the main target if they do go for an engage, but still there isn't much kill potential, so they're not even attempting to drive on there. They're just trying to poke the Drunk Tank where they can. Chaos Bear, Giggles, and Migs trying to group up, and you're starting to see really UConn edge ahead just a tidbit because they are just doing a little bit more pressure than their opponents, and we see Ohio State starting to lag behind on clearing this minion waves up.
And that's what they like to do. That's how they play the game. They feel very comfortable and confident, just getting whatever little victories they can. And even if it's just in the rotations between the lanes, if it's burning out the ammunition from the towers, that's a win for them. And they start to just push their opponents back further and further.
A slow, casual win is a way to do it if you can. And we see Chaos Bar coming in with the damage. Trina will get poked down, barely sneaking on by, and now we have a turn-in occurring here for Ohio State. They just want to get Zagara to get those gems off of her. She's been getting ganked often by Danley for 3, so if you can let Zagara be free and pushing without having to worry about the weight of the gems, it can be very helpful. However, a couple more gems are available for a full turn-in here for Ohio State. We do see Danley for 3 going for the engage. Giggles getting low on HP. Mig coming around, now Zagara joining in as well, and Ohio State will be fighting back, but they did lose on that trade just a little bit there, a little bit too much health being taken away.
All right, all UConn want to do is make sure that they get the first turn in, and they aren't able to do so. So that will be a nice win for Ohio State. They're the ones with the Zagara, so they can start to spread the creep, especially if they can get a lot of towers down here. So it's going to come down to how good the defense is from UConn, making sure they don't lose too much from this Web Weaver phase.
Yeah, Johanna's going to be the main hero that's going to prevent that from happening. When Knight takes spawn, she's able to really help out with clearing those waves. You're going to see Beto here just really showing up and trying to help clear all these minions as soon as possible. And the rest of the team should be following her around.
Here they go. They're going to choose to defend up top first. Thrall is duking it out with Zagara still in the bottom with that Web Weaver, and so for the most part the mid one is going to have an even or a push that is unhindered for now, but once UConn can take this one down, then they should be able to rotate. The Ohio State, though, putting on the pressure. They just want to get the towers as many as possible so they can start to get back an experience lead where they were starting to get a little bit behind from UConn.
Yeah, solid strat there from Ohio State, putting 4 people in the top lane. This pretty much secures that Zagara will be able to do a full one-on-one in the bottom lane and put on a lot of pressure here. And if they're able to grab turrets and get a lot of experience, and Ohio State does get a small lead here by about a quarter of experience just because of how well they orchestrated that entire thing. No kills happened, no engagements happened, but they etched out a lead.
That's the point I was making about both of these teams, is they both play pretty slowly.
Yeah.
And really, we'll start to see, I think, the aggression come first from Ohio State. It needs to be from Ohio State.
Yeah, I would say they're playing a little bit more aggressive than we normally see from them. They're getting just enough pressure on here where it's enough where almost their foot is standing on top of the other foot of UConn, right? They know it's there, they can feel it a little bit, but it's not doing too much damage yet. Later on, when we get to level 10, as Gilly mentioned, we'll start to see that pressure really start to work out and see which team can handle it.
Even just the fact that they got the turn in first was a really nice win for Ohio State. Even just the fact that they are able to get rid of some of those gems makes them feel okay to get more aggressive, because they're not holding them, so if they lose somebody, they don't have to worry about flailing trying to pick them back up. But now a Web Weaver phase for UConn.
Gilly, I'm getting pretty excited to see this matchup because we have not seen UConn lose a single match in this entire game. They are currently undefeated at the moment, so seeing them on the back foot will be interesting. I want to see how exactly they can pull it off, how they deal with it, and how as a team they feel under pressure.
Right, but we have yet to see the big team fight. And you and I both agree that UConn has really amazing, very decisive team fights. Once they start going in 5v5, it's not like a one kill. They will wipe their opponents quite often.
Oh my gosh, Chaos Bear is just being a little bit aggressive in this matchup. We saw Zeratul actually flank in the top left corner. He blinked in on Giggles and Mig. And usually you're going to see a boss that try to help with that Zeratul, but instead he just beelined straight for the Li Ming to put pressure on them. And that's actually a sign of a really strong assassin player that understands the potential of their opponents and what they can do as well. Putting pressure on Li Ming is probably one of the great ways they'll be able to break this team comp apart for UConn. UConn, though, finally getting a turn in, now pushing in the top lane. They are level 10. You see Zeratul flanking around the top right corner. He does have Void Prison, so watch out. Ohio State has to make sure that they are spread out here and don't allow for a hard engage. Mig will get caught. There is a Sundering. We do have the Mighty Gust going off, and there's the Ancestral, and now Johanna's behind enemy lines. Luckily, she has Iron Skin, but we have Zagara coming for the flank here. Can she hit the maul on someone important? Drunk Tank still low, but does get a retreat. The Void Prism is pretty good. The maul, unfortunately, will miss, though.
The maul was not the ticket that they needed, but Monkey Lamps is still very low. He has Tranquility down, trying to heal back his team, and they might have overstepped just now because Thrall is going to go down. They get the Thrall, but they lose the Muradin, so it's still a 1-for-1, and that's great for Ohio State. Keeping up with this team.
Yes, they're coming back there. Nice play there. Great play by Drunk Tank. The Zagara Devouring Maul could have been a bit better, but forgivable. Just make sure to hit the next one. That was a 1-for-1 trade, but luckily Li Ming was already out of mana, so she couldn't really take those resets to go to town on her opponents, but the auto attacks from the Falsehead player were actually great as well. I like the energy that Ohio State is bringing here. They're a lower seed, but they're looking like they could be definitely much higher.
Right, and at this point, we talked about gathering power for Zeratul. He hasn't died yet, so that one kill did at least get him a little bit of a stacks, but it's not the snowballing that I was very worried about.
And also, just again, kudos to UConn and Danley for 3. They were diving a fourth there, which is showing that they're willing to get out of their own comfort zone here to win this tournament. They were putting pressure on their opponents as much as they could. Now we're having it dance around this tournament spot here. We have a decent amount of gems available here, especially on Fenrir. The Drunk Tank is leading the charge here, tanking the damage for Torino over here. Mig and Chaos Bar are floating around. We do have a Heroic up available now for Jaina. Ring of Frost available for that combo if they're able to hit it. And we're going to see both teams just poking, going at each other's throat really here in the middle of the map.
It's always a really good feeling to not have your big gem holder be your warrior. With the Drunk Tank not really holding very many of them, he can be up in the faces of the members of UConn, just trying to push them back so that the rest of his team can turn in. But there's a lot of really long poke, and we're going to get into a fight.
Beto is in trouble. I believe he still has Iron Skin. Yes, he does pop it, but he's getting bursted down, and Johanna, she just died? Is that a bug? Torino now in trouble as well, going to be having the Drunk Tank moving forward. Ring of Frost will hit one member. Thrall will use Sundering as well. The Void Prison is pretty decent here, but Finra in trouble, and now here come the resets. Torino getting 3 members. Giggles in trouble as well, but an amazing orb.
Wow, that was very impressive from UConn. They're able to get 3. They're going after Giggles, who is a big gem holder for the team. 40 now on him, and that's going to be a lot of time for UConn to be able to start getting the pressure, putting the pressure back in their hands. But let's check out a replay of that last fight. So decisive, finally for UConn, where it has been close, and it really comes down to some of those really big heroic abilities that were able to just zone out the heroes.
Here's a mistake. 4 people walking into Disintegrate here, setting up Torino for the really big combo. The Void Prism was nice. Look, he grabbed the 2 major impactors here, Giggles, the Rhaegar, and then the Falset, and now Li Ming just goes to town here, picking off whoever she can. That was huge. Giggles is able to retreat. He grabs whatever gems he could, so nice job cleaning up for his teammates, but still, you gotta have control in those fights. After a battle found down, they're like, oh my gosh, we killed the tank. Let's go. Let's move in. And the control from UConn was a little bit too much, and you saw the fight back.
Yeah, the Void Prison was very good from Danley for 3, and that's given them level 13 before their opponents. They've started to turn in some of their gems and are trying to work toward getting yet another Web Weaver phase where they can finally start taking down some of the forts of Ohio State.
The poke continuously coming in here from Torino. Beto trying to move on in and really prevent this from happening. Danley 3 for 3 is coming from the right side. He does not have Void Prism for 9 seconds. Chaos Bear, though, taking a beating here as Zeratul and Beto just team up and evaporate him from the battleground.
Man, the synergy from this team is very impressive. Like the way that Battlesea knew that Zeratul was going to be coming around the side, threw out the Blessed Shield so that they could make sure to get that kill on Falstad. Every kill counts, especially for UConn with the Gathering Power.
That is very correct. UConn now getting a few turn-ins here. And what is that? A few stacks now on Zeratul, meaning he really applies the damage whenever necessary. We're going to have to maybe have him get taken down eventually in a team fight. They'll have to stop focusing on Li Ming and eventually try to pick off Zeratul.
All right. 13 now picked up by Ohio State, but the amount of time that it took for them to get that did give UConn the time they needed to get another Web Weaver phase. So they're just trying to push the lanes out as far as possible, so the Web Weavers will push very close to the forts as they can, and it looks like mid will be the place where they choose to try to take down the first fort.
UConn is now in the driver's seat of the car they're used to driving, really being able to push forward here as they do have a nice level lead. The fort slowly being ticked on down. The top lane and the bottom lane are also getting pressure here as well, and Ohio State needs to defend this as soon as possible, but you see them playing so reserved here. They understand that Void Prison is up, and Void Prison in this area is actually very powerful if you get it to lock down on one side of the fort here, so watch out for Zagara and Mig on the far right. Those are prime targets here for Danley for 3 and the rest of his team.
Now he's looking for it. He goes in, and Muradin is taken out. Devouring Maw once again finds no one, pulls no one down, and that is such a long cooldown.
Oh gosh, that's Sundering. Mega's gonna get caught there, and Ancestral is good enough that will save him, but wow, that was such a decisive fight there for UConn. Really the aggression paying off for them. That's Sundering, dude. That was actually very, very solid.
As soon as UConn got Wormhole, everything changed. You could feel it change. They were like, we're ready. And they started going, they just started to go. And I like the decision to push mid. They knew top was already pushed very far into the fort and it was low. And so with that long push in mid, they've gotten rid of all 3 of the forts at once with one foul swoop, have been able to pick up their level 16 and all of the forts for Ohio State.
And you can see how the small lead starts to really pile up here for UConn. They're really starting to pile on their opponents. They're in a different gear, it seems like. 3 forts have been killed off. They're putting pressure on the towers down here on the bottom right, which got them to level 16. They're now a full talent ahead, and they have full map control, and they're keeping up there. Remember, they still have Void Prison and Blessed Shield. If they would like, they could get into another engagement, because Devouring Maw by Finroar was wasted earlier. There's still 50 seconds until that heroic comes up.
Yeah, with the increased cooldown time that was added in the last patch to that Devouring Maw, that's really changed some things. You really have to hope that you are able to catch and make it really count because of how long it takes to come back.
I do want to note also that UConn is doing a great job. Johanna here has picked up Burning Rage so they can deal with all that creep, which again takes away all the powers that Gara has. So now all she is basically a heroic user. She uses Devouring Maw and she has to play in the back. Now she has no vision available for her team, which allows UConn to kind of just flow around the map and take it as they will.
Yeah, you can even see on the mini-map that there is just not really any creep tumors there, especially around the 2 turn-in points, which is where you want to have it completely spread out so that you can be able to see where your opponents are moving around. But you're right, they just have no vision. They have no idea what UConn is up to, and that makes them play more scared. They have to just, especially with 77 gems, they're playing very passively, but they need to get back out there and try to get caught back up in experience.
Gillyweed speaking nothing but truth for you guys, but looking at Ohio State, what do they have to do here to get back? Well, they have to start moving towards level 16. They also need to keep an eye on this puppy right here, the boss. And we see UConn really kind of trying to sneak it away, and the entire team is actually going for a turn-in here. I actually like the turn-in.
Yes.
Because they're level 15. They need to get 16, so you might as well get some kind of advantage somewhere on the map if you can't go contest that boss. So getting these web weavers will help them deal with the boss and also give them a chance to get to level 16.
Yeah, it's going to help them with their other lanes too. They can focus on the boss. We'll see how UConn chooses to react to this turn-in. Whether they want to push with the boss. Looks like maybe they were trying to catch somebody potentially who was rotating around the not safe way, but everyone from Ohio State playing very safely, knowing that with this boss pushing directly onto the keep, they really have to make sure not to lose anybody else during this crucial time.
Totally. All heroics are now up for both teams. We could be seeing an engagement at any point. Watch for Zero to get a Sundering if necessary. You can hit it on those members in the back. Ohio State's doing a good job, though, of spreading out here, making sure that if a Sundering does come in, it only hits one primary target, which will allow for them to defend a little bit easier here. They are going to lose their keep, but it's okay. Giving up that keep is a better play. You're able to move towards level 16, deal with the boss, and now they're on a situation, or in a situation, where they could get into a fight if they would like to, because they are effectively on even footing.
Yeah, they need to. Because although they did pick up 16, they're still down 2 levels.
Yeah.
And so then when the next boss comes up, they would be facing the potential of 20 to not being 20. And that's yet another really, really tough thing to be able to defend through. And with losing that keep in top, they have to get aggressive. They need to find some picks, get some more turn-ins. They almost have enough gems to be able to get that. They still have yet to take down a fort 10.
Yeah, they really need to get some infrastructure underneath their footing as well here. But finally, you can tell by their movement here, they're getting a little bit more aggressive. They're feeling confident. They understand that 16 through 19 is the area where they can get to a fight if they can get in front of UConn before they get their own 20. They're getting creep tumors back down and once again trying to seize control of the map. At least hold the middle lane there, because that's where a majority of all the action is going to be happening. And Drunk Tank is actually fishing, looking for somebody. Can I find Zeratul? Can I find Chirino? Can I find a primary target so my team can follow up?
Is that heavy impact or landing momentum? I think it's going to be heavy impact. I'm pretty sure I've seen them grab it before on Muradin, but adding more stuns to them, maybe if they can Dwarf Toss on top, they could follow up with the Ring of Frost and maybe zone out some of the other members with the Devouring Maw. But just, this is what we're talking about with Ohio State. They have some interesting talent choices.
Yeah, they understand that, you know, if Muradin can get a couple of stuns that we can follow up appropriately, we can go into a 5v4. They like the power of being able to stun somebody out. Also, it can be good against Li Ming. Say that she's using Disintegrate. If you use a Dwarf Impact, jump in and stun out Li Ming, suddenly you
no
can cancel
lasers
out the
for
heroic.
you.
Yep, exactly. aggression now in the bottom lane once again.
Oh,
UConn has
no.
snuck another turn in, and they are well on their way to level 20. Ohio State trying their best to poke wherever possible. Their wave clear is okay, but with MiG actually being there in the very, very back, they're going to have a hard time really defending this wave by itself. But to be fair, Gino's a primary target for UConn, so
Yeah.
MiG's trying to play very safe here so he can make sure that he's landing those Ring of Frost. But oh my golly,
And-
Zagara destroyed.
Yeah, that's what I was saying, or about to say, is nowhere is safe, even when you're in the back. With the Zeratul that has that much power and has Wormhole, nowhere is safe. They weren't able to use Ancestral Healing to keep Zagara alive, and this defense gets scarier and scarier for Ohio State, especially as UConn grabbed 20.
And here's the problem. Zagara freaked out and used a Devouring Maul. You were as good as dead at that point. If you don't hit a 3 to 4 person Maul, you might as well save it. And now with that Maul not being available, the team fight for Ohio State is dramatically weakened, and a Ring of Frost being used as well. MiG unfortunately missing. All the heroics are falling apart here for Ohio State, and UConn turns around going in for the engage. There's a Mighty Gust, but we do have Zeratul flooding in, trying to help out. Finward showing up, gonna come help out and poke, but I don't think they have a chance to actually win this team fight. Looking at UConn, they're still pretty much about three-quarters health, to always full health here on this entire team.
Yeah, this Malfurion has been doing a great job. We talked about Monkey Lamps. He's a really fantastic support for the team and proving that they can make Malfurion work in this composition. But I like that UConn were like, you know, we've taken out all of the keeps. This is a really tough position for our opponents. We can play a little bit passively. We don't need to win right here, right now.
Gillyweed, I'm looking at Ohio State, and I know it looks dire, but what is the situation for them to come back here? What do they have to do to take UConn out?
Play perfectly.
Yeah.
They have to win multiple team fights decisively at this point, and then get some turn-ins too. And look at the structures. All of the forts are still up, so they would have to go through forts, go through keeps, and then
Did
get
Monkey
to
Lance just
core.
dance in the middle of the map with Malfurion? He just did. He just danced. in the middle
Malfurion's
of the
dance
map.
is hilarious.
He just spun in a circle and danced it out. Monkey
feeling
Lance,
good.
he is feeling very confident right now. I agree with you, though. Ohio State's got to play perfectly. The one good news for them while they're constantly falling behind here is that the boss was actually grabbed earlier, which meant that UConn couldn't grab it in the game. But the thing is, it's about to spawn in 5 seconds. Devouring Maul is up, though, for Ohio State. They do have tools to get in here and engage. The problem is they have no idea it's up. And a majority of it is because this guy right here, Dan Lee for 3. 4 members are currently up at the boss, and he's in the middle of the lane, showing himself, trying to find a way to let his opponents know that he's floating around the middle of the map, which will set him up for a potential Void Prism / combo for his team to come in and really win the battle.
Average deaths per game, by the way, is 1. I would feel comfortable going Gathering Power on Zeratul if I had that stat too.
That's one of the best ways to use that talent.
Yep.
Never die.
That is the way to use that talent.
Top lane, though, finally getting pressure on it. We're having the boss starting to be picked apart. We did see Ohio State sniff this out. They are aware. Chaos Bear does have Mighty Gust, so he could show up. He uses Q to poke on in. The Drunk Tank coming around. Void Prism's going to be used. Drunk Tank looking at it. Okay, where's the Mighty Gust? Is he going to use it? No, didn't even attempt it, deciding not to. And this is where it gets really hard for Ohio State. They have to win a team fight and kill this boss to have a chance to win this game.
Yeah, they have to do the team fight before the boss and all 5 members get onto the core. That's crucial. The core cannot withstand all of that damage, but so far they're just trying to run away. They've been dealing with so much damage from Li Ming in the back, and it's whittling them down.
All right, we're starting to get some pressure on that boss, but the boss is just heading forward, heading straight for the core, and guess what? Catapults in the mid lane and the bottom lane too. This is looking very dire for our Ohio State. The Ancestral Healing was pretty nice there, though. The Maul does hit a couple members, but the Ring of Frost was a hair late there. We'll get one root there for the team, but MiG, unfortunately, not able to do too much more there. Darude is pushing away the entire team, actually. The Drunk Tank trying to put the pressure on, but it is not enough. UConn will take game number 1, and a game that heading into level 10 seemed pretty even, just quickly got ruined as UConn really just got to a point where they were confident and they understood how their heroics worked, and they just dismantled the opposing team.
Right, it was like heroics and then 13.
Yeah.
It was like Dan Lee hit 13 and said, "Okay, guys, I have Wormhole. Let's do this.
Yeah.
Let's do this." And they did. And this is another case of the team knowing what they need to do to stop their opponents, to stop this higher seeded team, but not being able to execute the way. The Ohio State just wasn't quite there, and UConn looked so strong in this game.
That is very true. In Ohio State, they had a couple of moments where I felt like they had it down. Like, it felt like they were really set up. This was a major moment, though, that was huge for UConn. They got 1 kill, Ohio State, and they just forgot about being careful and just charged in, took way too much damage from Leeming. The Void Prison was huge from Danley for 3, and that just set the momentum for the rest of the game. Going into game number 2, I want to see Ohio State less shaken up.
Yeah.
After that initial fight, you could tell they're like, oh gosh, this team is pretty good. Maybe they do deserve the seed 1, and then suddenly they started losing over and over and over again. I don't want to see that in game number 2.
Right. There's always the situation where you are down that one game and you either like take a deep breath and you get mad and then you just come back so hard in game number 2, or you start to get really scared and you're like, oh my gosh, we are 1 game away from being eliminated from this tournament. So which way will Ohio State go? We are going to find out. But guys, before that, we're going to take a break. Don't go anywhere. We will see you soon. We are back with the Heroes of the Dorm Super 16, and as we can see here, we have the top 8 teams by average game time. Now, as you will notice, UConn at the lower end of that, but as we've talked about, it's much more because these guys don't want fast victories. They want to slowly get ahead inch by inch and are okay with taking their time in the game.
Yeah, you could tell that the confidence is there with them whenever they're taking their time and slowly, methodically picking apart their opponents, and they do it so well. Honestly, it kind of we knew that they take that type of slow approach, but even the pressure that they were putting on started to creep on me as well. I noticed at one point they were 11-11. Next thing you know, I looked up the experience and it was 13-11. I'm like, whoa,
it was that
whoa.
fight.
Yeah. You guys got to slow down. You're getting a little bit too fast here for me with this slow, methodical play. But yeah, they really know how to take the map and make it their own. They don't play around their heroes. They had great heroics and whatnot, but in terms of the battleground, that's what they do so well. They know how to take that part of the map and make it work out for them to where they can achieve the victory.
And a big point to that is the synergy that they have as a team. This is a team who we're in Heroes of the Dorm last year. They have 4 returning members, and unfortunately, because of a roster issue, they were disqualified last year, and they weren't able to get to the point that they knew they deserved to be. So they're really out to prove that they could have made it further last year and that they will make it further this year.
Yeah, UConn, in a sense, never lost a game last year. Remember, they actually never lost a match. They just lost out because of the roster issue. So, you know, this is a redemption story for them. Coming to 2016, they want to win it all. They want to take it all, and they're trying to show that they have the power to do so. We'll see if they can do it, of course, as we go into game number 2. But if they play like they did in game number 1, I'm scared for Ohio State.
I am too. So we have a draft ready. It's going to be on Dragonshire, and we're already underway here.
So Zul and Sonya will be banned out. Ohio State just keeps banning out Sonya because UConn loves to pick up that hero. Really someone that can just kind of get in there and cause a lot of disruption. So getting rid of her is very, very important to Ohio State. Zagara and Devouring Maw, or Zagara's Devouring Maw and ETC will get picked up. Now I'm kind of wondering here if Ohio State will move to probably ban out Uther.
Yeah, I'm wondering. Even if they don't get Uther, I've seen UConn make mosh pits happen.
Yeah,
even
without
with
it.
Blins. So they have Tyrande. I don't know if maybe they will look for a second support or if they're going to go with the solo support Tyrande. We'll see as they get the rest of their picks. But Ohio State does have Muradin and Thrall, 2 heroes they told us. If they do have comfort picks, that are these, especially because Muradin is also a comfort pick for UConn. So if they're able to take that away, not only do they get something they're happy with, but it also is kind of like a ban against UConn.
And Ohio State actually has a bit of a crazy strategy up their sleeve that they want to pull out, but I want to see the 3rd and 4th pick before I tell you guys about it at home. But it could potentially happen here on this battleground. You know, it's game number 2. Why not? If you want to go out the bang, might as well try. Another thing, though, for UConn, though, is if Uther does get banned out, unfortunately, it's not going to be that soon, be Li Ming. They don't really need ETC to hit all those power slides and mosh pit combos, even though you mentioned they can hit it.
Yeah.
If they can bait out a lot of stuns, that allows Zagara and Tron to be more aggressive and really apply the pressure where possible. So, you know, picking up ETC is also very, very good at sponging all the stuns that come your way. Now, Falstad going to be banned out for UConn. This will allow for UConn to get the aggressive plays that they want without it being reset by the Mighty Gust from Falstad. We had a couple of good Mighty Gusts in the last game from Ohio State, so just taking that away again takes away any chance of them perhaps resetting a team fight.
Yeah, I mean, his flight is very useful, being able to go to a shrine right away if they can win a team fight. But as you mentioned, Falstad is a lot of times the team's go-to for trying to deal with ETC. Just Mighty Gust everyone away from that mosh pit.
Yeah.
Get rid of the mosh pit. Allow your team to reset, especially without that big heroic ability, and then you can go back into a fight.
Totally agree. So Ohio State now going to pick up their third and fourth hero. I'm looking for a healer. Would love to see what they're going to pick up. Rhaegar could be a great choice in this scenario. And then maybe some more damage. I don't mind if they actually hold off and don't reveal their fifth hero pick in terms of if they're going to go for a double support or a double warrior. Just having some kind of a solid foundation here could be great for Ohio State. So let's see what they're going to be picking up here. They do already have their top lane on lock with Thrall being available. Just a great laner. They will probably be going against Zagara. So Ohio State is drafting for the map, just like UConn.
Greymane is going to be a choice and going to allow them to be very aggressive between Greymane, Muradin, and Thrall. They know this is it. They need to somehow disrupt UConn, get into their heads, stop them from getting this methodical win that they were able to in the last time, and they're switching up their styles to try to do it. Last game, it didn't work. This time they have to do something else, and it will be with Greymane and Lunara.
All right, Lunara getting picked up, so they do have damage here. They can be aggressive if they would like to, especially with Greymane and Thrall being the really strong initiators behind Muradin. But Lunara, we've seen it time and time again. She can work in the damage wherever necessary, really use that crippling spores to her advantage and kind of just poke down opposing members that really aren't trying to engage on her and really stop that from all happening.
I know I'm a big Brightwing fan, but Lunara actually right now is my favorite hero to play.
Yeah, is she?
I really
It's the hair,
enjoy,
isn't it?
Yeah, well, I mean, who could say no to that awesome green hair? But also just her ability to push. She's got great push potential with Nature's Culling, as well as her ability to force your team or your opponents to try to react differently because of how she can put this huge poison damage on them. I don't know now if Tyrande heals could be enough for that.
Yeah, totally agree with you. Tyrande's heals actually aren't enough for that. Even with Shadowstock, it's still on a delay.
Yeah.
And it might not be a long enough duration for you to actually get the healing in you need to deal with that.
And
now,
there you
Uther
go.
will be the pickup here. So Uther and ETC, you have that wonderful Mosh Pit Divine Shield combo, as well as some more solid heals to help out with Lunara, and Follow is a great pickup. We've been seeing her more and more often. Her buffs lately have allowed teams to really work in more auto attacks and keep up with her, and she's been a great assassin for a majority of teams.
One more pick left for Ohio State. It will be their support. You said Giggles can't really be banned out of a support, can play all of those heroes, so it's just whatever they want.
I want Rhaegar. That's what I would love to see. Actually, there it is.
There you go.
Okay, I think they might be doing the crazy strategy. We'll talk about it once we get in the game. We'll give you guys more information, but I think Ohio State's got something up their sleeves here. And
You have to. You have to.
yeah, we're going to have to talk about it because I think UConn actually has some pretty decent tools to deal with it. It's still, though, something that can really throw someone for surprise. So we're going to wait for us to get in the game before we actually talk about that strategy. But Ohio State versus UConn, game number 2 is shaping up to be a good one already.
Now let's talk about Dragonshire. We have the heroes. It's all about being able to push out those lanes and try to get the shrines. Be able to have heroes who can brawl, as a lot of times you're going into more duels, maybe 1v1 or 2v2 versus the full 5v5 fights that you've seen a lot of other battlegrounds.
Yeah, you're going to see our team spread out heavily as they try to hold down those areas. You want to have strong laners, strong duelers. Ohio State does have that with Lunara and Thrall already available to them, and Greymane. Here are some mercenary camps too you can grab, especially down there in the bottom lane. The bottom lane is hugely the area where you'll see a lot of teams competing and really trying to win the tug of war, if you will. Top lane, you'll have pretty much no aggression, but once you grab a dragon, you can see teams kind of push across the middle of the field here and apply a lot of damage. They have a robust amount of health, so they're able to kind of tank that damage as well. So the dragon, it can be a great pickup for your team if you're able to unlock it.
So here we see who will be playing each hero, and we're going to have a switch up from what we had before with Seryu playing Zagara, and Batosies will be playing ETC, allowing Dan Lee for 3 to play that Tyrande hero, and then of course Monkey Lamps will be on Uther. On the other side we have Ohio State, the Drunk Tank playing Muradin.
Yes, he is. Looking over to Monkey Lance, though. Monkey Lance played so well in the last game. In fact, we saw the Malfurion dance. It's something that you don't normally see from a lot of players, but Monkey Lance will be pulling out the Uther for this game. And again, him and Danley for 3 just work together so well. You can tell that they have that synergy. They have the practice. They have the chemistry together, especially with the rest of their teammates. Great guys.
Yeah, and the fact that these two will be playing the supports together is going to be very nice for them. They can coordinate their supporting to make sure that everyone stays alive, which will be important as Lunara's poison damage starts to ramp up into the later game.
Very true. We'll see how they'll handle that. On the other side, though, Chaos Bear is a hero that I've really been enjoying as well. He's been playing pretty awesome throughout the entire tournament. So I'm looking at him and Mig to be the guys to say, guys, get on my shoulders. We need to work together. We need to be a team. Let me help you carry you to victory, man. I'm going to get those engagements. I'm going to make it work for us.
Yeah, my shoulders.
Get on my shoulders, man.
I like that.
Let's do this. Let's go ahead and carry through this game because we need to get a win here, period.
They do. It is the last game, the last chance that they have to get back into this. We'll see if the Lunara damage is going to be enough for them as well as the Thrall. They have all of the picks that they need. They've got to be feeling good here as they go in, but the game is ready, so let's see if they can make it happen.
All right, game number 2 on Dragonshire. UConn versus Ohio State. UConn, the Tricky Turtles here on the left for Monkey Lamps, Danley for 3, Beto, Torino, and Suriyu all grouping up down here in the bottom lane. Now, something that should be noted, by the way, is Tricky Turtles is an awesome name. I think it is definitely a contestant for one of the best names in the entire tournament. They had that last year, and it's been one that people just kind of naturally latch onto.
Yeah, we've had a lot of really good ones, but unfortunately some of those have started to go away.
Yeah, the Mighty Churros. Rip in peace.
Yeah.
I miss you guys. Such
Crab
a great
legs.
team name. But yeah, looking at this draft, again, I think really the power is available to Ohio, where in game number 1, I felt like UConn had the better draft and it worked out for them. But this one, I'm looking at Ohio State. I think they have a bit of a better draft. It's a scenario that should work out for them. We know that they want to introduce chaos into the entire roster of UConn, and I think the chaos is now available on this team. And actually, here they are on the very far right for the red team. Ohio State, it's going to be Mig, Chaos Bear, Giggles, the Drunk Tank, and Finra. And we can now talk about that secret strategy we were mentioning earlier, Gillyweed.
Oh, are we doing that, or are we going to wait until maybe a
Do we
little
want to wait
bit
till 10?
later? I think we should wait
All right.
until maybe a little bit
We'll
later.
keep teasing it.
I like the tease, but guys, don't forget, we want to know who you think is going to win this match. You can tweet using the hashtag Heroes of the Dorm, as well as the hashtag of the team name you think is going to take it, whether it's Vote UConn or Vote OSU.
All right, so the aggression, this is the standard. Everyone run to the middle of the map and try and get a pick off here. We have UConn at the very top. We have Ohio State in the bottom left. Now, UConn is actually doing something this time. They're spreading creep being set up for that top lane for Siriu. Drunk Tank, on the other hand, will be looking for a Storm Bolt, potentially on Danley for 3. And Danley for 3 is actually the bait here as Beto comes in from the side with the power slide. That was demoralizing.
Surprise! The Tricky Turtles are going to be aggressive!
They're bringing out the aggression there. Nice play and a good time to trade it up, too. It's a great way to demoralize your opponent if you've already beat them in game number 1. Game number 2, they come in with a clear head. Okay, this is game 2. If we win this, we go to game 3. But if you lose a hero in the first 30 seconds of the game, that is something that could really throw off your entire game plan. And Finra, Drunk Tank, and Mig are now down here in the bottom lane trying to at least keep the experience in even stature.
So now we'll just see them rotating between the mid and the bottom. They're looking to try to clear out those lanes and be a little bit faster than your opponents in doing so. If you can start to do that, you help your minions start to push into the towers, and that drains ammo. And it's all about playing the slow game until you can start to take out the towers and then the fort and get to a point where for your opponents to try to take the shrines, it becomes more and more difficult in the late game.
Very, very true there. Now, if Lunara in the bottom lane can get enough pressure on Danley for 3 and Monkey Lamps here, they could potentially take that bottom shrine, but it has already gone to UConn. And now aggression already happening in the middle lane. The Drunk Tank taking half his damage away here. Finra, though, working in some auto attacks. In the top lane, though, we have Zagara and Thrall just going at it over the shrine, as it looks like Zagara is finally going to edge out her opponent. So we see all of Ohio State move down to the bottom left here and grab a shrine.
They're going to be able to grab this, so we'll see a lot of seesawing happening between these shrines, going back and forth. I think, especially with both of these teams, looking just to see if they can find a pick here or there between those rotations, you know, especially between mid and bottom. There's this sort of triangle of bushes available where you might be able to catch somebody out, and it looks like that could be Danley for 3.
Danley for 3. Getting low. Will the poison kill him off? No, he has his own heal there and will survive. Oh my gosh! The cocktail will be enough to burst her down. Very, very unfortunate. He just saved himself. Oh, I'm so clutch I live. Oh no! Cocktail hits him right in the face, and that will be a tank down here for Ohio State. Nice pickup.
Yeah, they've been able to keep up with this early game, even with losing somebody so early on, not allowing themselves to get thrown off, to get demoralized. It's very important that they continue to do that. And now, holding both of the shrines means that they have to force UConn to maybe get a little bit more aggressive. Zagara grabbing the top shrine and make sure that they don't give up an early Dragon Knight.
And it's unfortunate because Thrall is all by himself in that top lane, by the way. The creep is way too good here for Zagara to actually be ganked, especially with Danley for 3 watching that area, making sure that creep is never actually clear without him getting some damage on the opponent. So you're going to see Finra, Mig, and Giggles constantly rotating between the mid and bottom lane, and Ohio State's Thrall on the top is going to be left to fend for himself, so he's got to play that lane very carefully.
Yeah, I have to say, Syracuse creep spread's been on point. Starting off even helping, as we saw all of UConn come up and be able to put the creep down, and now with so many members members here. They're looking to go after Thrall and pick him up, but they lose Vala at the same time, still trading blow for blow.
Poor Chaos Bear didn't even have a chance there, but you're right, good trade-off for the teams here as they're able to get Vala in the bottom lane. Finler and the rest of the crew will push this in, while we'll be having aggression from UConn in the middle lane as they push in their own lane, trying to deny experience for Ohio State. We'll see if Muradin and Finler can actually get up there just in time to grab that experience.
I really liked that from Ohio State. Instead of leaving immediately after getting the kill, they went ahead and were able to take out a tower. So they're kind of playing UConn's game a little bit, like taking these little victories here and there, and to slowly try to just deal with UConn and keep them playing on the back foot.
Yeah, and I'd argue they actually get a little bit ahead there, putting that pressure on the bottom lane, because again, these mercenary camps are so important. If you're able to get rid of that fort, you kind of get pressure on that bottom lane, which allows for you to eventually come over here and potentially take this. And they're actually moving all the way in. Battle will move in with the ETC power slide, and we're going to see Muradin start running away. He is low on HP, though. Is there a heal build for giggles? Nice Storm Bolt, though, will save his life. However, they do surrender the mercenaries. But they get a dragon as they sneak it in the middle. Nice power play.
They're distracting, and I love it. They didn't lose anybody, and they distracted long enough for Mig to come and be able to pick this up, and now they have already taken out a gate and one tower in the bottom lane, so that's where they're going to bring the Dragon Knight, knowing that it's already the weakest lane and the best lane to push anyway because of all of the mercenary camps available.
Clever play here from Ohio State as they keep up their aggression in the middle lane. We still have pressure from Lunara and Thrall, which is allowing for the team to keep getting these little victories and move up in level as they are now about a half a level ahead of their opponents, which is a better spot than they were last game.
Yeah, I really like, too, that we have Cruel Spores picked up by Lunara, which is a very great pick for helping you push the lanes. A lot of times we see Natural Perspective because it does give you vision as long as Nature's Toxin is on a hero.
Yeah.
But picking that up plus Nature's Culling means that she's a pushing machine, and that's how they've been able to keep UConn back and make sure that they're controlling that rotation from mid to bot.
Yeah, good pickups there from Ohio State. Chaos Bear and Mig will be forced to retreat up here. We're starting to see the creep spread cleared up a little bit here, so nice job by Greymane and Thrall. Thrall, though, getting a little bit aggressive here. Danley for 3, waiting in the bush. Luckily will be spotted by Chaos Bear as he's able to retreat. Now on the bottom right, Ohio State keeping their lead, grabbing mercenary camps, trying to keep pressure up, want to get that fort killed off as soon as possible, or at least apply some damage down there as they move towards the mid lane. Again, chasing that level 10.
Rhaegar has cleanse. That's going to be crucial in making sure that they can get people out of the mosh pit. And we'll see how that's going to work once they get 10, but they will have a great power play where they have their heroic abilities ahead of UConn. So we'll see what they can make happen with that. It looks like they want to get a big push along with these giants and maybe try to take out the fort during this time.
Such good timing here, hitting level 10, getting giants together, bringing 4 members down in the bottom left. I do like what UConn is doing, realizing that they're going to lose that pressure in the bottom lane, so they grab knights in the top left, which will allow for them to put pressure and kind of counterbalance the aggression coming their way. Gilly is correct in that regard. Chaos Bear, though, going for a full engage, using Sunring there on Saru, and it looks like he will be taken down, but Ohio State in the bottom lane realizes, you know what, we can't save him, pushing hard.
Yep, they take out the fort, they take out the tower there too, and they're continuing on at least while they can, allowing those giants to move up to the towers. And with shrines about to spawn, they have some time. Maybe they can go after the bottom mercenary camp, but that is going to be spotted by Tyrande. Will we see UConn try to stop them or just clear it up? It looks like they're just going to do the second option.
Grabbing whatever they can. And I like it, actually. They put aggression on the early game, which was different from what we saw. They played a little bit more safe, soaked experience, and just tried to edge their way out ahead a little bit. And now as they go to the mid game, they're playing a bit more safer as a unit of 4 here. They're using that rotation to their advantage and just letting Thrall do his thing in the top lane. And it's slowly working out for them. Saru now actually has a shrine in the very top, which means Ohio State has to make a play for the bottom.
They're starting to move down. The Moon Shrine's still available. Maybe just trying to see if someone is going to poke their heads out, defend that mercenary camp. Just really playing it safe. They know that this is a very important game. Ohio State, if they lose this, they are out. They will not have a chance to continue on to the Epic 8. But if they can win it here, they bring it to a Game 3, and they'll be riding into that with momentum, which is so important.
Very true. And something that's actually very subtle that I wanted to point out here is that Finler, whenever they're moving around these 4-man rotations, they're using that wisp to really kind of cover their bases. That's why they've been rotating so heavily, because they're able to get that vision. Shadowstuck, though, though, has been popped here for UConn, trying to get engaged. Unfortunately, the retreat from Ohio State was a little too good. Thrall grabbed the shrine in the very top as well, and now they could potentially contend for a dragon here, but a team fight might be in their favor as Vala has snuck to the bottom there to grab a shrine.
Yeah, once they see somebody there, they could try to move in and grab somebody, but Thrall was still up in the top, and they weren't quite sure where Zagara was, so still just trying to push in where they can. They know that they have a little bit of an experience lead, so if they can keep that up, not lose any people, they're going to get to a point where they have a talent tier advantage over UConn, and that's the time when they can make something happen, whether it's going for a team fight or pick up the Dragon Knight.
Thrall and Gramian are rotating around the middle here. They're trying to go for the dragon here. Zagara trying to slow that down, but Mig will move on in. The Devouring Maul does go off, and that's actually might buy enough time for Rhaegar to get over here and help out. The mosh pit, though, is a little too big. Could someone stop this mosh pit? No, no one has. Bado really getting off a lot of people dancing there, and 2 members for Ohio State will fall down, and UConn staying true to what they do best. They are being flashy in this team fight and taking out members left and right.
Mosh pit into Reign of Vengeance. We've been seeing the power of it today, and it's pretty scary to have to deal with. And now with that, UConn bring back the experience. They're almost to 13 right along with Ohio State, and they've kept them from being able to grab a Dragon Knight during that time, during that window where it looked like they might be able to get it.
Very, very true, Gillian. Now with the heroics down for a majority of UConn, we're going to see Ohio State try to put some pressure on the bottom here and prevent a dragon. It looks like they may do so. However, they might lose a member here if this Bado can get an engage on someone important here. Is Dwarf Toss still available? I don't think it is. There it is, actually. Nice. He will be able to retreat. And now, Chaos Bear, if he hits the wolf, he might be able to help his team get an engage here. Mig falling up as well. Drunk Chain about to be able to jump in here with a Stormbolt. Can he catch Suru here? He does hit him. Chaos Bear wants to follow up, but no, not quite enough. They just don't have the chasing potential they want to really land those kills.
Yeah, it was a good cleanse. We've seen good cleanses on both sides, being able to stop a team from being able to snowball from a big stun and catching somebody who was trying to run away. And with that, neck and experience, a little bit in favor of the UConn for kills, but the structures are favoring Ohio State. So this game looks very even, and this is a much different game than the last one.
Yeah, the mid game is much better here for Ohio State. UConn seems to be playing the same game, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. Just Ohio State's gotten better up. They've leveled up, if you will, in game number 2, and I'm liking it. And most of it's because of this guy right here, Finra. The Wisp movement has been so helpful for the team. They're making very smart, intelligent decisions based on the vision they have available to them, and they're keeping up the aggression where they can. I like it. We do have Vala in the top left corner looking for a potential flank here on Ohio State. She's sitting in the bush. A huge Reign of Vengeance on Thrall and Finra could be nice for the team. However, the rest of the team are grabbing the Giants in the bottom left corner. The vision she's given there is very, very instrumental.
When we talked to the team, they said that Finra was the player who brought a lot of game sense to the team.
I see
was the one who was providing the timers of the battleground objectives, which is a very important role to a team. So you can definitely see that with providing the vision, just really making sure that the team has all of the tools that they need to keep tabs on UConn, especially since they are going up against Tyrande and Zagara with the creep. It's very important that they continue to do that.
Yeah, it is very important. And you know, what's really, really good for these teams is both of them are returning from 2015 into 2016. You can start to see the experience on the teamwork starting to really work together. It's fleshing out. Ohio State doesn't look as scared anymore as they were in game number 1. And UConn just, again, keeping up the pressure, rotating their opponents here, moving down the bottom right. They've already set creep so they can see if a flank does come their way. And Ohio State is now starting to react a little bit more than I would like to see. They were a little bit more proactive earlier. I would like to see more of that proactive play here, especially as we head to the mid-game.
They're both returning with 4 members.
That's true, yeah. Yeah, they are.
So they also have the synergy of having most of your team back together again. So now, still looking for getting a level 16 where they can, really prioritizing having somebody in all of the lanes, but also making sure that no team has both of the shrines. Just going back and forth, doing that seesaw I mentioned. Both of them are currently being held by Ohio State, but it was just a small window where they just go back and forth. They say, okay, their team is all going bottom. We go top and grab that one.
Both teams trying to move towards 16 as well, and whoever gets there first could potentially get an engagement here. I feel like the map control is swinging back and forth. Right now, it is in the favor of Ohio State. You know, Gilly mentioned it best, kind of a seesaw effect as both teams are trying to outweigh each other. They're just kind of trading blows very, very nicely. Lots of low jabs here. Torino will actually dodge that Stormbolt there from the Murden. In the middle, though, we do see a Dragon trying to be grabbed, but Mig is going to get caught out by Bato here. In for the engagement, into the Rain of Vengeance, and that is going to be a quick takedown that goes heavily into the favor of UConn.
And it was so nice because Ohio State were the ones that were just slightly making UConn play on the back foot. They were the ones grabbing both of the shrines and forcing UConn to go to the other shrine to be able to stop it. So with that, they have some breathing room where they can start to take shrines back. They could start to push lanes back. Maybe even, well, they picked up 16. It won't be that long where they could try to get maybe more of a decisive fight with that level lead, but it still is bringing back some of the momentum to UConn.
Totally true. And something for you guys to note at home, around 13 to 15 minutes is when the death timers start to become a major deal. Luckily, Greymane was, his death was painful, but it was something that Ohio State could kind of weather out. But as more deaths happen as we get later in the game, they get more impactful. The maul there was so big. Oh my heart. Grabbing 3 people into a Ludaflare mosh pit. Gillyweed, they are going off right now.
There was the Divine Shield on the mosh pit, and no one got out of that one. 3 heroes down. Just as they had Greymane back up, they've lost 3, and this looks like we could be seeing the first UConn Dragon Knight.
That was hot. H-O-T, man. Dang, Suro showing up.
H-A-W-T.
We can spell it that way, too. Here it is. Look at the Suro just waiting patiently, waiting for the bait. There it is. Huge Divine Maul. The Lunar Flare from Danley for 3, though. Look at this. Boom! Hitting 3 people into a mosh pit. The Divine Shield helping out as well. 3 people destroyed immediately. And although third string does have a lot of assassins, a lot of damage, they don't have very many health points. If they get focused down like that, they're going to be destroyed every single time.
I have to hand it to UConn too. They got the big maw on the 3, and it was Muradin who was left out. They weren't like, let's get this Muradin, because he was Avatar.
They
he
ignored
had so
him,
much health. They were like, this guy's not going to do anything, but guess what? Guess who's about to pop out of this maw? 3 very juicy heroes. And with that, now they have a Dragon Knight and are starting to take down the structures.
So darn juicy. Danley for 3 coming around here, but it looks like Ohio State is actually getting a decent team fight here. Danley for 3, the Toronto player, is in that Dragon, and although he can help out with damage, he isn't able to help out with the Hunter Mark and the Lunar Flares. Nice pickup here from Ohio State, though, as they keep the aggression, the drunk tank moving forward here, picking up Suru, and now Ohio State is showing some life.
Not only Hunter's Mark and Lunar Flares, but the supports.
Yeah, the heals.
It's necessary to have both of those heals for Lunara. She has the unfair advantage at 13, where her Nature's Toxin is going to do 50% more damage to slowed targets, and they have a lot of slows available between Rhaegar and, of course, her own crippling spores. So they were able to turn this right back around, and Ohio State's still in this.
Yeah, Uther's commonly agreed as one of the weakest heroes against Lunara because he can't heal all that poison, so Toronto was there to kind of offset that. And you are very right, Gillyweed. Great observation that with the Dragon being picked up by Danley for 3, they really prevented that from happening. So nice pickup by OS State. Nice job picking up that as well and going for an engagement, especially when all the heroics were down. Now they're fighting back, they're getting more pressure, they're on the opposing team side of the map here. This is confidence that I like to see.
A Piercing Sentinel will reveal all, but it doesn't matter because they've already grabbed the Giants and they can rotate to some of the other objectives. Slightly behind in experience though, so they want to make sure that as they're rotating to these mercenary camps, they're also sending people back to the lanes when they can safely do so to be able to soak up the experience.
Yeah.
And they are doing that. Verdon has gone to the top, so they're going to start to bring that back, making sure that there's not too big of a window where UConn has their level 20 Storm talents when they don't.
But I do agree with you. They're kind of neglecting the soaking that needs to be happening here because they do have to get to level 20. They missed actually 7 minions there as it was actually fed to the fort, and they could have gotten there a little bit earlier. They need to call that out a bit earlier and make sure they're on point with that because those small victories can be enough to keep you even in the game. Pressure now on the top lane here for Ohio State. Gaining the support would be a great win, especially with Bala and Tyrande in the middle of the map here. Bala actually at the very bottom. You see Finwar and the rest of the team just kind of pushing in as hard as they can.
They do put some damage on it, but don't want to get into a fight. Both of these teams have played passively before. They know when to engage. They know when to be aggressive, but they also know when to back off. If they were to lose somebody here, it would be giving level 20 to their opponents, and that's not something they're willing to do.
Knights or mercenaries in the bottom right being grabbed. They could grab the Knights at the very south as well if they would like. Shrines are activating in the next 15 minutes, and this is the point where Dragons become a huge contestant point. I know they're important in the early game. I know they're important in the mid game, but as we get to the later stages, 17, 18, 19, 20 minutes, suddenly you get to a point where these Dragons could be potentially game ending if 2 or 3 people are picked off for these teams. So this is where it gets very serious. You'll see all five members for these teams rotating together unless they set up flanks.
So there's a talent that we actually asked Ohio State specifically about, Executioner on Greymane.
Yeah.
The fact that we asked them why they were picking it, and they said if you don't need the extra damage from Gilnan, if you're not really going for that burst, then having that constant, it's always there, right? It's not, you're limited to a cooldown. It's always up as long as there are slows, stuns, or roots, of which their composition provides a lot of.
Yeah, this team really highly values Executioner because of heroes like Lunara, the totem from Rhaegar, and they also really value other heroics that they didn't pick in this battle or this battleground, but we could see in the future just because they love that Executioner so darn much. Well, we do have Ohio State rotating around. Again, that slight lead that UConn had is working out for them now as they're level 20, and you're seeing them shark around. They're fishing. They're looking for some kind of engage, but Ohio State is taking every safe route in the book known to man so they can make sure they don't get caught off. And as I say that, the Drunk Tank does get caught by a power slide, but in the bottom lane we have Rhaegar and Greymane working in tandem here to grab that shrine.
If they can just wait this out a little bit longer, they'll be back.
A few more seconds,
just a little bit more. They can do it and get their storm talents as well and be able to withstand this timing that UConn had trying to get their Dragon Knight.
Oh no, a Devouring Maul though here on the right. That's a couple members picked up, but Finward shows up and puts some pressure on the opponent's Chaos Bear. Is actually missed by the Lunar Flare. Danley for 3 is low on health. He will pass Shadowstalk, and that will be a heal for a majority of the team, but Devouring Maul is down and Sundering is down. Those are both key components for both teams in these fights.
They are, but Devouring Maw has a longer cooldown, so I would do it, and they also got Shadowstalk, so I would definitely give the win to Ohio State, especially because with that, they were able to get 20. They didn't lose people just as they were getting back on the same.
Below this, we actually have an aggression happening here as the the Drunk Tank is moving in, the Dwarf moving in. We're gonna see a member fall. Rhaegar here getting picked off. Cyril though is in trouble. He will bolt all over the wall, but Chaos Bear will give chase here as he's chasing him down. Monkey Lamps showing up for the defense as well. Dwarf Toss moving in as Drunk Tank is trying to lock down Battle. We do have Finward just applying a damage here left and right. 2 members down for both teams here.
But that poison damage pushed UConn back. It's really tough for them to deal with it, especially when...
Oh, they get the dragon?
Oh, it gets stalled out by the Holy Radiance. They're trying, though. They're looking for it.
They're efficient here, and Bado really taking that damage here. Finward hitting 3 members there with that Thornward Vines will be just enough to help apply pressure. Finward now going to start grabbing the dragon. The Drunk Tank may die here, but they will get the almighty dragon for themselves here, and they're going to wait for their teammates to group up and start putting pressure on the lanes.
Man, I'm very impressed. The fact that they were able to take out one of the supports made it a lot harder for UConn to deal with the poison damage, even though, yes, they got rid of Greymane early on in that fight. So they got rid of one of the 2 heroes that was putting on that constant, like, heavy, sustained damage. They still didn't get rid of, obviously, Thrall, but Lunara, who was able to put the poison on enough to finally get them pushed back. Now, they did lose Muradin, which was unfortunate. So that's a little bit of time that they can't be quite as aggressive with this Dragon Knight maybe as they wanted, but it's still a great pick up for them.
I do want to note that UConn in the earlier stages of the fight were actually kind of focusing Thrall and Muradin very, very often, but now they kind of changed their priority to really hit Rhaegar here. Rhaegar didn't even have a chance to use extra healing in that situation, so they changed the way they've been fighting in team fights here, and I hope Rhaegar notices that he's actually being focused out more than normal, so he's going to have to play a little bit more passive here and make sure that he can help out with the healing.
Right, there's no self-cleanse, there's no self-ancestral healing,
right.
So he has to make sure he is pivotal to them being able to stay alive, especially when it comes to the mosh pit, because he's the one who has the cleanse to get someone out. He's the one who can ancestral somebody to withstand the damage that comes from that initial burst, so it's very important that he stays alive.
Every member on this team is super important, but if Rhaegar's getting focused, he's going to have to play a little bit more passively. Now, this dragon honestly didn't get too much done. It killed the fort in the middle, it put some pressure on the top lane. They have a little bit of time left here, but the major win for Ohio State is that dragon did not go to UConn. If UConn had gotten that, they would have been able to put pressure on the keeps. The keeps being up for Ohio State gives them a chance to continue this game. Effectively, we're even. Even though there's 1 fort in the top left corner, we're even overall.
Okay, so Lunara has Starwood Spear, which gives her more range, and also Thornwood Vine, which is a pretty high range heroic ability. So the idea is that she's staying back. She's not going to be a target for Mosh Pit, and she grabbed Abolish Magic, which is like another cleanse that she can get for herself and 1 more person. So they're really trying to do whatever they can to make sure they just get through that initial Mosh Pit. Do that, and they're going to win.
That's very true, Gil. You can see Ohio State mentioning that Finward was one of the best heroes that they have on this team, and you can see they're giving him the tools to do so. They're going to protect him and allow him to work in those auto attacks, and so far, he's done a great job of doing so. But UConn has a different plan. They're going to start putting pressure on infrastructure. Lunara, although can get those auto attacks in over a long sustained fight, she can't sit here and just apply a major damage right away. So allowing for the team to push forward here into the towers is all this team can really do. Infrastructure is how you win this game. And if they can keep pushing, they can make it work.
Yep, poking a hole into the infrastructure so that you have an open window to the keep if you're able to the core even, if you are able to win a big team fight. That's what they're trying to do, just protecting these siege giants as they throw their rocks at the structures of Ohio State. But they still protect the keep, and we'll have, once again, the shrine spawning pretty soon here on Dragonshire.
It's kind of interesting how the drunk tank has just been tanking everything in this entire game. He's nearly tanked 80k damage as we move into the 23-minute mark, while Lenara's put out nearly 60k damage for her team. The next one behind that is going to be a MiG on Greymane with 30k. So you can see how Lenara is really the person in this game that is applying all the damage to get that teamwork done to win team fights. You can see how Muradin and Finra, the drunk tank, these are the two guys that you want on your team to stay alive.
Now, when you have a good Lunara player, it's always going to have a lot of damage, hero damage, because of how that poison damage works. But both teams are trying to pick up shrines, trying to maybe get some mercenary camps to force their opponents to respond. Do that, you know where they're going to go, and you can try to go and get something else, maybe a Dragon Knight if possible.
All right, well, the dance of the shrines will now occur here as we are 24 minutes into the next dragon. I would almost dare say ends the game here for either team, no matter if they win a team fight or not. These dragons start to hit pretty hard, and here's Finra once again really putting up the damage here. KD ratio is 2.3, doing a solid job in this game, really keeping up with it. And now with the rotations happening in the top lane here, let's go ahead and head back into the game as we're about to have some more aggression once again, as our teams are just trying their best here to out-rotate each other and potentially pick somebody off.
I'd definitely say that Finra is the MVP for Ohio State this game.
Definitely most valuable player, 100%. Well,
trading back and forth with the shrines, that is the name of the game on Dragonshire until you catch someone out of position. Dragonshire is the battleground thought to be the most, showing the most individual skill. You have a lot of individual decisions that you have to make about how to respond and how to try to get ahead. And there are so many rotations, so the fact that we're getting to see these teams neck and neck is such a treat here on Dragonshire. 25 minutes into the game, Tim.
And I love how both teams are using the tools they have to make sure that they're not getting caught out in these rotations. Constantly from Toronto, we're seeing Sentinels sent across the middle of the map trying to find the opposing team. Constantly we have a Wisp occurring here for Lenara so we can get an advantage in terms of seeing where the opposing team is. And every time, it's very interesting, when UConn kills a Wisp, they immediately go for a mercenary camp. Every single time, because they know that their opponents have no vision. Yep,
that's pretty cool. But Ohio State are now grabbing both of the shrines, and UConn are going to try to steal, look for, if somebody was at these giants, they would want to pick that up. But they didn't find anybody here, so they may just grab the giants anyway. Looks like they're not feeling very comfortable about that. They know that that might be a position where third string Ohio State could try to steal the Dragon Knight. So still just the passive play that we've seen from both of these really staying alive in this game.
This game is getting a little too intense for me, Gilly. I may have to go take a vacation after this as we see both teams continuing to move. Look for Serial and Bato here. They're trying to hit those huge team effect heroics that really do a lot of work. And I love how differently Ohio State's playing around this area because of that last mall destroying them. These members putting around. We saw Thrall immediately retreat. The team, though, is starting to rotate down, and we'll see how they take this engagement here. Serial once again trying to set up for that miracle mall.
It's good for UConn in this instance, though, because last time they were in this position where they got both of the giants, they got a lot of damage to the structures. So we're going to see them do the exact same thing again. They're going to start to push in, protect these as long as they can. Look for someone out of position if possible for a mosh pit or a devouring mob, but otherwise, pick up a keep.
All right, Benner trying to work in the attacks here. MiG helping out as well, using that cocktail to break down these giants, and they will lose about another big chunk on their keep, but the good news is they still have it. The keep still being available is a win in that book.
Man, these teams really respecting each other and how the game has gone down. 12 kills to 7. Favoring UConn, but still Ohio State has been a completely different team, I would say, from the last game.
Yeah, I got to give props. Even if they lose this game, if they go out 2-0, this game has been a much better showing for them, and I love what I'm seeing from both teams here. There is a flank, though, around here as we have Thrall getting caught there. Chaos down, and that could potentially actually be a game. Getting split up here just a little bit. It looked like the rest of the team members, Muradin and Greymane and Rhaegar, were actually going for a flank in the top left corner, but this lone creep tumor right here revealed that, and that's why we saw bolts as ET ETC went in for the major mosh pit there, got it. 2 members down, 40 seconds on the tick down, and we're going to see teams trying to grab these shrines. The Drunk Tank has to go in here. He has to hit a Stormbolt if they want to get a kill here. The Maul misses, though.
Oh, man.
Wow, that was a bit aggressive. Mig going straight for the engagement here. Giggle's going to help out. We have Tyrande and ETC coming up from the top left corner, but that Maul being down could be a game changer.
Ohio State has to know they're getting collapsed on here. Can they get out? The bolt comes in, and Mig, in a lot of trouble, is going to try to kill after them just to get away. Ancestral Healing is good. It connects, and Mig stays alive.
Somehow, Ohio State is actually saving the game for their team here, getting that Maul, and most of it will be on Rhaegar, by the way. He put a great totem down to prevent Uther from getting a stun on top of Greymane and the Ancestral. Murden, once again, trying to delay this. We'll have a Stormbolt set up in a second, moves in. Divine Shield has been popped, though, and now Tyrande can't be focused, and that will be Dragon here. Danley for 3, and crew will start moving across the middle of the map, but the time bought for Ohio State was good enough to get all 5 members up, which means they could team fight. If they're able to get a quick team wipe and then focus down the Dragon, they could continue to fight in this game.
And this is Tyrande again in the Dragon Knight.
That's right.
That did not pay out for them before, but it is a different Dragon Knight, and it's much later into the game, so we'll see how this is going to happen. I love punting away Fenrir. Has been very important, trying to get Lunara away from a team.
Also down for 40 seconds, a huge Sundering going down. Trina and Saru being picked off. Mig trying to retreat. He is low on HP, but he will survive for now. Giggles, though, forced to start moving away. Will get punted away, and that should actually save his life. Fenrir is working in the damage wherever he can here. Just auto-attacking away, man. Left click, right click, trying to make it work out. Mig showing up with more poke as well, and they're actually doing it. They're slowing down this push. They're bringing in the aggression. Now, UConn does get a keep out of that trade there, and they still have a Dragon, but you're seeing the aggression. But the mosh pit! 4 people are going to be picked off, and we're going to see the cleanse actually on Lunara, which could have been nice, but is it enough? Chaos Bear will be able to retreat. Only 1 member getting picked off. Gillyweed, this fight is so back and forth.
They've only lost 1. That's really good for them. They still have a lot of people needed for this defense. The Dragon Knight has 29 seconds left, though, and this is a very late game Dragon Knight. Those auto attacks are chunking down the core. All UConn has to do is distract the members of Ohio State, if they can, from this Dragon Knight. Look, they're down to 36%. I think they've done it, Tim.
The Dragon might just be enough as it keeps wailing on the core, and UConn will take the series 2-0. Congratulations to them. But man, Ohio State definitely made a comeback in that game. I'm so happy for them that they actually showed up, but UConn, of course, will take away the victory.
Ohio State put up quite the fight.
Yes, they did.
They did exactly what they told us they were going to do. They tried to just stop the momentum that UConn has been showing in all of their games, but I really think that we have to go back to where they had this slow push. They had this slow push down in the bottom lane 2 times in a row, 2 rounds in a row of getting all 4 Giants and just letting it whittle down the core, letting it slowly just take down the Keep's health, so that by the time they got a Dragon Knight, then they were able to quickly take out that Keep and start to put pressure on the core. But man, that's playing the long game.
Yeah, they did, and gosh, that was such a fun game to watch, especially in the last 6 minutes. It was so intense. We saw back and forth action. Here's a couple of replays from the game as you see Vado there really helping out with a lot of the ETC power slides. The mosh pit at the end of the game was very good too here, but this combo was crazy. In particular, there was another combo in the bottom right by the Dragon, the Devouring Maw, into the Lunar Flare, into the power slide mosh pit. You can just tell how UConn, when it comes to team fights, they are so flashy and so good at making sure that they win and secure whatever team fight they get into.
So I know that it's still fairly new, the idea of this Reign of Vengeance with Mosh Pit.
Yeah.
Teams have to start considering that.
Yeah, it's a lot of damage, it's a lot of CC as well, and you hit multiple targets at once. It's similar in a way to thinking multi-shot, but with a heroic. So you bring all that damage out at once, and you apply it on multiple targets, which allows for the auto attacks that Vala does so well to clean up everyone afterwards. So it's such a strong combo, and I think I agree with you. We need to see it more often. All
right, well, we are ready for a Skype interview with one of our winners from UConn. We have Badosees. Hello, Badosees, can you hear me?
Yeah, how's it going?
Good. How are you guys feeling after that?
Tired.
What goes through you guys' mind when you have such a long game? We know that you guys are a team that feel okay with that. You go for sort of the long game, the long wins, but in that long of a game on Dragonshire, what's the mindset for you guys?
Land a mosh or a maw and you win, otherwise it's scary. I don't know, it's just, it's a rotating game, and as long as you play it safe, we figured there's a few things we could have gone for more aggressive, but we're like, play it safe.
Make it
hopefully
work.
win. Yeah.
How have you
Yeah.
guys been enjoying the new Vala with Reign of Vengeance? We've been seeing a lot of teams start to bring her out more, and especially in conjunction with Mosh Pit.
Oh, so much damage, and then yeah, Reign of Vengeance. It's, I don't know, just a good follow-up CC. I always have liked it better than Strafe, but you know, I just like CC. It's nice. Not letting them play is a good thing.
Of course.
I'm kind of curious about game number one. Game number one, Ohio State just seemed to be almost dominated by you guys, especially after the mid-game. Going into game number two, was there a flare from them that kind of threw you guys off a little bit? Was it surprising? How was game two and the mindset of your team?
No, I think Dragonshire we like to try and just play, you know, a little more safe on, and
Okay.
so it's we could have taken the risk, but we've had times where we're like, oh, look at us, we're riding the momentum and we go too high and too far with it, and then it turns out a little sour. And now Dragonshire, it's just one team wipe can lose you the game since it's such a small map, you know.
Totally.
But yeah, we're pretty comfortable on the map, we feel. So.
And just following that, if you had lost game number two, and you don't have to reveal any secret strategies or anything, what would you have done in game number three? What would have been the mindset? Would you have just wiped the slate clean and showed up in game number three? What would have been your choice for you guys?
Cryptweaver and Nubarak on Haunted Mines. No, I don't know. Probably just play to our strengths.
Sure.
Or, yeah, which we'll eventually find out what they are, but they're there somewhere.
Very cool. Well, we really appreciate you guys. That was a great game overall. UConn, of course, congratulations. Going on to the Epic 8. Wonderful job, guys. Well done.
All right, before we go, I have a question for you.
Uh-oh.
Oh, snaps.
For me or Gilly?
All right. Either both.
Okay,
Both.
okay.
Okay.
All right.
Is monkey lamps a monkey or a lamp? That's the question.
I'm going to go with the lamp.
It's $1 million question. Well, I've got to go with monkey, of course.
All right. Well, of course, we'll
Oh
never
my
figure
gosh,
out the answer.
conflict. Eventually. Thank
Awesome.
you, guys.
Thank you, man.
Thank you, and congratulations. Well, that does it for that match. Congratulations to UConn, who moved forward to the Epic 8 2-0 over Ohio State. But let's take a look at the matches we have yet to come today.
The next matchup coming up for you guys here, stay put. East Carolina versus Minnesota. Going to be a great matchup afterwards. UPenn versus Arizona State. So I'm not casting that one. I can be biased. Arizona State is taking that, Gilly. I can just believe in them. They're going all the way to the finals. Then, of course, San Jose versus Berkeley will round out the day. The Super 16 has been fantastic, and I've been loving it. But make sure you tune in tomorrow, Sunday, March 27th, for the Epic 8 at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
That will be 2 p.m. Eastern on Twitch. Watch ESPN, of course, and we also have that on YouTube. And the live event schedule for our Heroic 4 and Grand Finals. It'll be on Saturday, April 9th and Sunday, April 10th, 8 p.m. Eastern Time, both of those days. But it's also a live event from Seattle, Washington.
It's going to be a great event, man. I can't wait to be in Seattle. It's going to be so fun. Last year was so great, but we can't wait to see more, so we'll be right back after this quick commercial break.